Good evening. Welcome to the July 14th, 2015 meeting of the Pequannock Township Council. Ms. Marsh?
In accordance with the requirements of New Jersey's Open Public Meetings Act, notice of this meeting was included in the annual meeting notice, which was filed in the office of the Township Clerk, posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, published as a legal notice in the Suburban Trends newspaper, and distributed to all persons as requesting notice in accordance with Township policy.
Please join me in a pledge of allegiance, followed by a prayer and a moment of thanks for individuals serving our nation.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Most gracious Providence, we ask that you bless this governing body with an abundance of wisdom and understanding so that every deliberation will result in actions which will promote the common good and general welfare for all the people of Pequannock Township. Amen.
The clerk will please call the roll.
Mrs. Florence Lynch?
Here.
Mr. Cole?
Here.
Mr. Phelan?
Here.
Mr. Vanderhoff?
Here.
Mayor Winterfield?
Here. There are no presentations scheduled for this evening, so we'll move on to reports from volunteers. At this time, are there reports or comments from any volunteers serving our community? No? Okay. The next item on the agenda is public comments. The public comment period will be limited to a total of 30 minutes. An additional period for public comment is reserved later in the meeting. Individuals are requested to limit their questions and comments to 3 minutes. If anyone wishes to address the council, please wait to be recognized to come to the microphone and provide your name and address for the record.
Good evening. My name is Nat Arkin. I'm a resident of Cedar Crest Village, and I'm a member of the Coalition Against Pilgrim Pipeline. CAP is our acronym. Last year, we worked together with the council in terms of trying to find a resolution opposing Pilgrim Pipeline, and eventually we reached that conclusion, and I believe that the council voted unanimously to oppose the pipeline. Since that time last year, I think it's 29 out of the 30 communities that the proposed route of the pipeline will go through have issued similar opposition resolutions. In addition, 2 counties have issued opposition resolutions, including our own county of Morris, and I think the other one is Passaic. The New Jersey Assembly has issued an opposition resolution, as has the New Jersey Senate, and our Congressman, Rodney Frelinghuysen, has also publicly stated that he opposes the resolution. So we have, to me, looks like a preponderance of New Jersey governmental bodies, in which you represent, and individual citizens, which I represent, who oppose it. But Pilgrim nevertheless continues to move forward with their plans to build a pipeline. So we think it is time, that is CAP, the Coalition Against Pilgrim Pipeline, to move this to a next level of opposition. And the form it would take would be an ordinance issued by the town prohibiting the building of a pipeline within town limits, no matter what company is involved. The value of an ordinance versus a resolution, the resolution, as you know, is non-binding. It's just an expression of the sense of the community. The ordinance would have the effect of law. So if somebody wanted to build pipeline through our town of Pequannock, they would have to establish a legal basis for doing so, and they would have to overcome your ordinance. 4 towns in New Jersey have already issued ordinances. Yes, ordinances opposing or prohibiting the building of a pipeline, and those would be Chatham, Watchung, Parsippany, and Madison. And we've made copies of those particular ordinances available to members of the council and to Carol as town clerk. We strongly believe that the next town that should take this action is Pequannock. The coalition against Pilgrim Pipeline would work with you and with the Environmental Commission of Pequannock to arrange documentation. And actually, we've already provided you with models of what the ordinance could look like. Last week, members of the CAP met with your Environmental Commission. We exchanged information, and we told them that we stand ready to help them with their own report, which I'm sure you will anticipate they will give you on the environmental issues. As a rough timeline, this is our own expectation of when this could be accomplished. We think it can be done by the end of August. We think your first town council meeting in August could be the first reading, and we think there's enough time to complete it and actually reach a vote on your second August meeting. So that's the way we see it at this point. Thank you for your time, your attention, and I look forward to your moving along with this ordinance.
I'd like to make a couple of comments before you leave.
Sure.
I personally do not want to see the pipeline built here. However, when it comes to doing an ordinance is a law that stays on our books until it's turned over or whatever. I did read the ordinances from the other towns. My concern is we do an ordinance and then, I'm not an attorney, and I think you are.
I'm not.
Okay. This pipeline would come in and say, you purposely did that ordinance to keep that pipeline from being built on your property. This is ridiculous. The courts, in my opinion, wouldn't even uphold this because we did it intentionally just to keep Pilgrim out of here. I'm not an attorney.
Well,
I have an attorney over here, though.
okay, we have consulted with an attorney who works with the CAP. His feeling is that if we have this ordinance before they have regulatory approval, then the only strong basis they would have if they could establish that this is some kind of restraint of commerce. But since oil is already coming down from Albany to Linden through barges and railroads, it would hardly constitute a restraint to prohibit them from putting a pipeline in town. So we continue to believe this is a strong defense against having a pipeline in our community.
Okay, again, my problem with the ordinance is I don't like making laws that we're purposely doing this to try to avoid having this pipeline put in, and then suddenly we find ourselves caught in a lawsuit because we had done this specifically just to keep Pilgrim Pipeline out. I mean, I think you guys, I'm all in favor of not putting this pipeline in 100%, but I also don't want to go through this circle of whatever, lawyers and, let's sue Pequannock and let's sue Madison and let's sue Watchung because they purposely did ordinances to keep us out. I will give it thorough thought over the next couple of weeks, 2 weeks before we have our next meeting, but right now I'm kind of hesitant about doing something like this. And again, we don't want to see the pipeline here, but we also have a responsibility to the taxpayers in the entire town and not get caught into a lawsuit over, because Pilgrim's going to sue everybody and anybody over these things.
If we stand alone, they have a good chance of doing what you just said, Rich. If we stand together, all the towns who are subject to it, I think we have a much better chance of resisting what they'd like to do.
Let me just ask our attorney for a quick comment. Am I off base with what I'm thinking?
No, I don't think you are off base with what you're thinking. I think there are issues. How those issues would be determined, we don't know.
Right, well,
but you're pointing out
determined.
That's exactly right. There certainly are issues. And one of the concerns would be we can initiate and we do initiate zoning ordinances from the council.
Right.
But typically, we look to the planning process, and ordinances sort of percolate up to us by the planning board coming to us with some concerns, the master plan pointing out some issues that they think needs to be addressed. It's unusual for a zoning ordinance to circulate down like this, particularly an ordinance that sets a policy like that. So it would be quite obvious what this is all about and how we got to this point. Of course, more obvious by the fact that we're following a trace of other municipalities, a track of other municipalities doing it. So, yeah, I certainly would counsel that we not move quickly. We deliberate, we go through the process. If there are good planning reasons for it, we have planning consultants that can tell us what those reasons are.
Okay.
And it'd be more than just triggered more than, and I don't think you're suggesting it should only be triggered by this pipeline. You really, I said, I don't think you're suggesting that it should only be triggered by this pipeline. In other words, I think you're suggesting it be looked at as a broad issue. It's not just Pilgrim. Another company could come in with the same type of proposal, and we would feel the same, you would feel the same way about it.
Yes.
And presumably under our ordinance, it would have the same issues that we would look at the same way. So it's not your group's intention to have us target a particular applicant and a particular pipeline, but we need to look at it more as under our overall zoning. And
Right.
Yeah,
it would be a change.
on that point, the model of the ordinance does not name a pipeline. It just says any pipeline, any company.
They're the ones.
And the
that
timing
need
is
to come here.
perfect. Right.
Well,
Yeah.
with the growth of pipelines in this country, whether this is the first or the last, I don't think any of us can predict at this point.
No, I
But the
agree.
likelihood keeps getting greater and greater.
I agree with you 100%. Again, I have a planning board meeting sometime this month, and maybe we could discuss it at the planning board
I
meeting
think that'd be a good
as a
idea.
policy or whatever.
Yeah.
And then kick it back up to the council. That way it would look a lot more legitimate than, suddenly we decide we're gonna do an ordinance.
Okay,
That's a good
So
idea.
we'll work on it.
thank you all.
Thank you.
Nat, I was just going to make 2 quick comments. I was going to say, I think it's still valid to do that impact study just to have the information, don't you think? And then the only other comment, I might have brought it up at that environmental commission meeting. There is an advocacy committee at the Passaic County Board of Realtors that if this is something that we want to really, all the communities feel the same way, you might want to contact the Passaic County Board of Realtors, the advocacy committee there. One of the last projects that they really just helped address was, I don't know if you heard about the tanks that they wanted to build down in, I don't know if it was like the Woodland Park area, and you saw all the signs and the postcards around that said, "Stop the tanks." I don't know if you saw that, but anyway, they wanted to drain the reservoirs and put in these tanks or something. Anyway, they were a big part of that. So
Thank you,
they
Melissa.
actually were the advocates for that got that all going. So
Okay,
Just something to
I
think
only
about.
mentioned the environmental documentation, but there should be also, probably you would want something regarding health of the
Right.
residents and real estate values, property values.
See, that's-
Those are the 3
That's what I
legs of
was
the
gonna say.
stool that we think are important to support your
it's possible
ordinance.
if that's how we really feel.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Is there anyone else? Sure. Come on up. Name and address for the record.
Sure. My name is Jerome Wagner. I'm a resident of Wayne. I'm just going to follow up a couple of comments from the discussion so far on the Pilgrim Pipeline. I had some prepared remarks, but they've been pretty much superseded by the conversation so far. So I'll try to minimize my reiterations. I just wanted to point out, well, among other things, that we had a lawyer, a land use attorney, look at the constitutionality, precedents, and so forth that might relate to this situation of ordinances. So after hours of study on the part of that expert, this was the route that was put forward as a reasonable next step beyond resolutions. So to try to find some tool that would have some force of law. So it's not, I just want to comment or assure you that the wording was not come up with flippantly or in a circumstantial manner. The study was applied to that, and we'd be glad to either facilitate contact between your attorneys or other experts with other communities who've already thought through this, to perhaps work through issues or come to some other understanding. As was mentioned already, the language that we're suggesting here is not targeted at a Pilgrim pipeline. I'll just read very briefly for those who haven't heard it so far. Pipelines not distributing services to end users within the township, which are not otherwise regulated by the New Jersey Board of Public Utilities, are prohibited in all zones and districts within the township. So as Nat was pointing out, this is also a forward-looking type of thing, to the possibility, eventuality, whatever, that other pipelines might seek to come through here and convey through your boundaries without providing any real benefits within the towns, to the town itself. I've already made a commitment as a environmental engineer to work with the Environmental Commission on what we're calling an environmental impact review or study. It's not going to rise perhaps to the level of a consultant study, but it'll help highlight some of the issues, at least as we see them, within the town, and point out some relevant things for you. And the last point I'll make now is that we did do at the Pequannock Street Festival, we chose to do a petition among the people that we spoke to. We had a booth, or we had a place down there during the street fair, talked with people about the project, and for those who wanted to, we gathered their signatures and with our contact information. So of those people, we had like 53 persons who were willing to sign what we called an ordinance against private pipelines in Pequannock, and 38 or so of those people were Pequannock or Pompton Plains residents. So just as a showing of other support for that particular thing. For the moment, I'll hold on to these because it's not clear to me where this is going yet. So rather than lose these contacts or these original petitions, I'll hold on to them for now. I guess my next question would simply be, is there a better path? Well, I mean, do you, and again, this is a rhetorical, I'm not expecting an answer right now, but, absent an ordinance, do you have an idea, are you concerned about protecting the residents in some manner, and do you have an idea what that instrument would look like?
We're always concerned about protecting our residents, and as far as another instrument, we haven't really given it that much thought. Like I said earlier, that we will present it to the planning board. Maybe they can come up with something and push an ordinance or a suggestion back up to us. But it looks rather, doesn't look right for us to push something down towards the planning board on an ordinance. And my last comment's going to be, an ordinance is only enforced by the courts. So I could see us and everybody else end up in court over this whole thing. It really can. I mean.
But I do think the planning board having a discussion about it would be good, because
right, and
they're
they're the ones who can push it back up this way. I don't know when the next planning board meeting is, but
well, there may be a way to craft it that just isn't a pipeline.
Right.
There may be other things that they can do a nice job.
So we'll look further into it. I promise you that.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
I think you can hear me. I don't want to waste more time, but you're talking.
What?
Oh, no, 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 no.
No, you gotta come
No,
up.
we, unfortunately,
Unfortunately, we have rules.
it's the government.
John Bannon, I'm up in Cedar Crest also, and you're talking like it's a done deal that Pilgrim does want to build here. My understanding was they had one of 5 routes to select from. They rejected the Hudson River route where they send barges down, and this was the 2nd route. Now, do you know something that we don't know, that this is the route they're zeroing in on? It doesn't mean
We have no more information than you do.
We don't know.
That's the trouble, is nobody knows nothing of what they're doing, so. Okay, I just wanted to ask.
They'll be suing people, that I can guarantee.
Oh, everybody's, it's America, it's the American way.
This is
All right,
America.
thank you for your time.
Anyone else? Martin?
Good evening. Martin Williams, 55 Rampo Road, Pompton Plains. I'm here this evening to represent the Pequannock Township Historical Society. It's nice to be able to say Pequannock Township Historical Society. We are a full and functioning organization. First thing I'd like to say, though, is congratulations on the grant from Morris County last week. That was a wonderful accomplishment. We appreciate it. So since the last time we were here, last time we provided you an update, I just wanted to bring you some news of how we've been. We had an election and appointed some other officers. Our chair is Lisa Data. Our treasurer is Louise Marchese, who was uncharacteristically not here this evening.
Yeah, that's kind of odd. Right?
Our secretary, Paul Haveman, who is with us tonight. Facilities chair, Jane Costello, who's with us tonight. Our fundraising chair is Joan Shane. Our publicities chair is Jay Wanzik. I'm the membership chair. And we have 5 other trustees, Anthony Greco, Lou Hebert, Fran Nuslik, and then, as I refer to them, the 3 Daves, Dave Stapp, Dave Wisniewski, and Dave Clarity. I am here representing Lisa because as the membership chair, When she is not available, our bylaws say, well, the membership chair gets to go and attend the meetings. So here I am. We're there. We are functioning. We started giving out our membership brochure about a month ago, and we have about 30 members so far. Our goal is 100 before the end of the year, and that seems very attainable at this point. So far, we have 5 charter patron members, and we have 1 charter benefactor, and the rest are regular charter members. So, so for those of you who are members, I know you got my acknowledgement letter the other day, but thank you again for joining. If anybody's interested in joining, I have more membership brochure.
Good plug.
When it's appropriate as membership chair, not to be traveling without them at all anymore. Just a couple other things about the things that we're doing. So we've been meeting bi-monthly since last year. We're going to be shifting those meetings a little bit so that we have a program associated with them, so it's not just business. We're going to have outside speakers coming in. We were talking initially about having people from other historical societies, other historic properties, come and talk to us about their experience of being in a historical society, about running an historic property, and how to engage the community in that property. We are starting a bi-monthly newsletter. I'm hoping the first issue will be out next month. We are not just looking for content, but we're trying to find an appropriate name.
Bi-monthly is a lot of work. No.
Bi-monthly is a lot of work. Jay seems that he can do bi-monthly. We'll see. It's the idea about setting up goals, right? You set the goals and then you see.
Well, it doesn't have to be giant. It just has to be informative.
Couple of pages.
Yeah.
Couple of pages. We were at the street fair. We will be at PV Park this weekend. We have representatives up at Cedar Crest this evening. You're missing a terrific presentation. Yes, they are. But the presentation there, it's a little bit about the Martin Berry House and a little bit about Pequannock Township, but they also were able to do some research on the area that is now Cedar Crest, the farm that was there. So they're telling about that and getting them very up to date on all that sort of information. Do you have any questions for us?
No, I think we're good.
Okay.
You've done a wonderful job. Are you still going to continue to meet the same times, or are you going to change the meeting times?
We are keeping the meeting times as is for now.
Okay.
Don't want to make them earlier. So that they start at 7:30.
They start at 7:30. It'd be easier for me if they started at 7 too.
That's okay. Yeah, no, we'll get the newsletters. We'll know what's going on if you do change it. Okay,
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, look at that. Very good. Anyone else? No? Okay. Next on the agenda, public hearing on ordinance 2015-07. Ms. Marsh.
This is an ordinance authorizing the execution of a contract for the purchase of Block 1404, Lot 11, commonly known as 581 Route 23, from Eleanor Bogart. And this public hearing was carried by motion of the council from the June 9th meeting.
So do we make a motion to carry it again?
Yeah, we will.
We
Bob,
do need a
probably
motion.
will update. Yeah, we will.
Yeah, we will need a motion to carry it again. I did speak with the attorney for Mrs. Bogart today. He is committed to having a telephone conference, which Dave and I will have with him on Thursday, to try to put all the issues to bed in terms of the contract. He did tell me today that the issues of timing, Mrs. Bogart is fine with our timing concerns, so we will not be making changes to that. I mean, we probably will, because this process has been delayed so long, have to make a few changes, but she will work with us on the timing issues, which was a concern I had with his original comment. So I think I'm expecting to make significant progress. I'm expecting to have this available in 2 weeks for introduction. I would like to have a contract signed by Mrs. Bogart before the council, before we have a council vote on it, because I think it's just fair, before asking you to vote on it, that we are sure that she has signed off on all the terms and conditions, and we then have an opportunity to review that before we vote on it in case there's some changes. So I'm going to recommend a motion tonight just to carry this for 2 weeks to our next meeting.
Okay.
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
I'll
Second. Roll call.
Mrs. Florence Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Phelan?
Yes.
Mr. Vanderhoff?
Yes.
Mayor Winterfield?
Yes. Okay. Next on the agenda, public hearing ordinance 2015-08. Ms. Marsh.
This is an ordinance amending Chapter 189 of the Revised General Ordinances of the Township of Pequannock. This hearing was also carried, this time from the June 23rd meeting.
So the planning board didn't get a chance to talk about this, so I would like to make a motion to carry it until next
Do I
meeting.
have a second?
I'll second.
Roll call?
Mrs. Florence Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Phelan?
Yes.
Mr. Vanderhoff?
Yes.
Mayor Winterfield?
Yes. Okay, three's a charm. Next on the agenda, public hearing, ordinance 2015-09. Ms. Marsh.
This is an ordinance amending Chapter 16 of the Revised General Ordinances of the Township of Pequannock and amending the provisions concerning planning board membership.
This sounds like a broken record, but the planning board didn't get a chance to talk about this. So I'd like to make a motion to carry this until.
Do I have a second?
This won't affect our appointments though, right?
No,
This is-
no. No. Roll call?
Mrs. Florence Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Phelan?
Yes.
Mr. Vanderhoff?
Yes.
Mayor Winterfield?
Yes. Next on the agenda is ordinance for introductions. Ms. Marsh.
Bond ordinance amending bond ordinance number 2010-22 of the Township of Pequannock in the County of Morris, New Jersey, finally adopted November 22nd, 2010, in its entirety, which provides for the village area sewer extension project and related improvements and increases the appropriation to $16,540,000 and the bonds and notes authorized to $15,965,000 and providing for local assessments for a portion of the cost thereof.
This is for the extension on.
Yes.
Yes, this bond ordinance provides an appropriation for the additional funding. It provides the authority to borrow the additional money, and it provides for assessments to be levied on 19 additional properties, as we had discussed at our last meeting, for the Turnpike extension from the current end at Sherman Avenue up to mid-block between Prospect and Winfield. I'm sorry, I don't have, I know that you all love the legalese of bond ordinances. I don't have the text of the bond ordinance, but all of the basic figures are provided here. I was actively engaged with bond counsel today. We sold notes, which I will report on later. Because of the time frames involved, there is notification requirement to each of the individual properties. The hearing on this would not be for 4 weeks.
So I'll make a motion to introduce it.
I'll second.
Okay. Roll call?
Mrs. Florence Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Phelan?
Yes.
Mr. Vanderhoff?
Yes.
Mayor Winterfield?
Yes. Okay, next on the agenda items is resolutions. Ms. Marsh.
This is a long list.
Take your time. Take your time, breathe.
Resolution 2015-117, authorizing tax office refunds, overpayments, or cancellations. Resolution 2015-118, authorizing the reinstatement of a special sewer assessment payment plan. 119, authorizing the release of designated escrow deposits. 120, authorizing Route 23 Honda's 40th anniversary event. 121, authorizing a social affairs permit for Pequannock Township Fire Department Engine Company 1. 122, authorizing a social affairs permit for Pequannock Township Fire Department Engine Company 2. 123, authorizing an interlocal agreement with Morris County for salting, sanding, and or plowing operations. 124, authorizing execution of a contract for open space advisory services with the Land Conservancy of New Jersey. Resolution 2015-125, authorizing purchases from vendors awarded contracts by the state of New Jersey. 126, and this resolution has been, there's a second revision on the desk. Authorizing execution of an agreement with the National Joint Powers Alliance Cooperative Purchasing Program. 127, authorizing purchases from designated vendors awarded contracts by the National Joint Powers Alliance Cooperative Purchasing Program. Resolution 2015-128, appointing Class 2 and Class 4 planning board members. 129, appointing members of the Open Space Advisory Committee. 130, appointing members of the Parks and Rec Advisory Committee. 131, appointing members of the Senior Citizens Advisory Committee. And 132, approving the payment of the itemized claims as set forth on the July 9th, 2015 bill list.
Mayor, could we
Good job.
put names into these appointments instead of just reading an appointment? How are you going to
Sure.
do that?
Okay, yeah.
Like,
Carol, do you have them there? Carol, I do read them.
right, I'd rather have the names in there than.
Yeah, we'll go back. So 128, start at 128.
128, 129, 130,
Yeah.
131.
Yeah.
Resolution number 2015-128 reads, the following are hereby appointed as members of the Pequannock Township Planning Board for the indicated terms. Rob Cascone is a Class 2 member for the unexpired term ending December 31st, 2016, and Joseph Jorgensen is a Class 4 member for the unexpired 4-year term ending December 31st, 2017. Resolution 2015-129. The following individuals in their capacity as members of the designated township boards, commissions, and committees are hereby appointed to the Pequannock Township Open Space Advisory Committee for unexpired terms of 1 year, which shall expire December 31st, 2015. From the Parks and Rec Advisory Committee, Thomas Andrew. From the Environmental Commission, Jeff Moriello. And from the Planning Board, Ryan Hurd. Resolution 2015-130 appoints members Nicole Carvella to the unexpired 3-year term. Appoints Nicole Carvella to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee for the unexpired 3-year term ending December 31st, 2017.
One more.
No, I need the updated version.
Do you have it? Or do you
I do. Resolution 2015-131 appoints members to the Senior Citizen Advisory Committee, Lorraine Moody for the unexpired 3-year term ending December 31st, 2017, and Marianne Bulger for the unexpired 3-year term ending December 31st, 2017.
Thank you very much. Are there any comments from council on any of the resolutions? Dave? Paul?
I'm good.
Melissa?
My only comment, not that it's a big one, was I was looking at this Honda application. Was that a yes or a no that they're going to be doing cooking on site?
Yeah. I think they changed
Was that
it to a
changed
yes.
it to a yes? So that's not an issue with like health or anything like that. I was trying to figure out if it was going from a yes to a no or a no to a yes.
Mm-hmm.
So, because they're going to be preparing food on site and having open flames, that's all.
Jay?
I'm sure that,
Oh, I'm good.
all right, I'm good.
Well, if Jay's good, I'm better. So there we go.
Okay, well, I'm great then.
We're good.
All right, do I have a motion to
I
adopt?
make a motion to approve 2015-117 through 2015-132.
I'll second.
Go ahead.
Aye.
Melissa.
Melissa, roll call?
Mrs. Florence Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Phelan?
Yes.
Mr. Vanderhoff?
Yes.
Mayor Winterfield?
Yes. Next item on the agenda are items for discussion.
Okay,
Okay,
So,
guess that's you,
the
Dave.
item for discussion. This started out as an enforcement issue. Our zoning enforcement issued a letter to a homeowner indicating that they had constructed items onto township property. The township has a small strip of property, 25 feet wide, on New Reed Street that essentially extends East Franklin Avenue beyond New Reed. It's not wide enough for a full street extension, but that's the line of the property.
Is it a paper street or
I
something?
looked at it today, it's 25 by 100. Is that what it says, as I looked it up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an easement. It's actually a publicly owned piece of property. It has its own block and lot.
So it's not an
It's in title of Pequannock Township. It is our, it is
Since
Pequannock
1980.
Right, but it's
Township.
not an easement. I have an easement on the back of my property.
No, it's not an easement.
I own
It
that
is
property.
private,
Right.
it is property owned by
By the
Pequannock
township,
Township.
right, okay.
And there are encroachments onto it. So they received a letter to remove the encroachments, and we received a request back from the property owner's attorney indicating they were interested in purchasing the property. Upon receiving that, I sent information to all the various operating departments, asked if anyone had any concerns or issues. This is an undersized piece of property that we do not use, have no anticipated use for. So the township and staff has no issue with selling it, so now it becomes a policy matter, which I'm throwing to you. So the first question is, do you have an interest in selling the property?
Well, it's not doing us any good, right?
We could never use it for anything, is
Right.
basically what
Oh,
you're
we
saying.
don't?
Just between New Reed and
One
Richard
question.
Street.
I think
No, we got lots of, all right, let's do one at a time. Okay,
One
Jen,
at
you
a
go
time.
first.
Just go between New Reed and Richard.
I know where the property is.
Did we put a copy of the map in or no?
No,
No, but I
No,
Googled
I
it
guess
today.
I, did you?
no, but I don't know
No,
where it
it's,
is.
it dead ends, there's actually 3 adjoining properties. The property immediately to the north is, 25, the resident who wrote the letter. There's a property on New Reed immediately to the south, and then there's a third piece of residential property off of DeMott, which has 25 foot of rear exposure to this property. So there are 3 adjoining properties. Except for the fact that it is immediately off New Reed, it serves us no purpose.
How did we acquire it? I don't know.
Probably foreclosure because somebody didn't pay taxes on it.
Yes.
I'd be speculating.
Yeah.
It's undersized for that,
Yeah, it's
for that
tiny.
neighborhood.
Yeah.
Um,
It doesn't adjoin the parkland or
It does not.
It's like between 2 properties.
isolate
So can it ever be used for anything?
It's 25 by 100.
So it just goes back
Tiny.
to adjacent properties. Doesn't touch any street other than New Reed.
It does not touch any street other than New Reed. It has, it's contiguous to 3 single-family home residential properties. And I'll let Bob go over the process for selling it. If there's an interest in selling it, we would need to go through essentially a public bid process.
Right, to make it fair.
And the only interested parties would be.
Right. Well, what happens is you put it out for bid, and the law requires, if it's an undersized, undeveloped lot, we offer it to the contiguous property owners. And the condition is they have to attach it to their property, and they can't use it to subdivide their property. So essentially, it becomes part and parcel of one of the contiguous properties, whichever of the 3 submits to us the highest bid. If none of those folks bid, then we are able to offer it up to the general public. That would be a secondary decision we'd have to make. This would only authorize us to offer it to the contiguous property owners. And it,
Now, of the contiguous property owners, the property owner that has the encroachment, if they were to add it, they would still be, it would be an undersized lot to subdivide anyway.
You want to speak into the microphone? I
Oh,
think.
I'm sorry. It would be an undersized lot for the property that already has the encroachment. The property immediately to the south already has 125 feet of frontage. It would make it 150 by 75 or 100. And I don't know where the house is located on that property. It could potentially be legally subdivided, but as Bob said, you know, part of the condition would be a prohibition of future subdivision.
Right. Okay.
So I'm okay with selling it.
Yeah, no problem with it.
What do you
We
say,
can't use
Dave?
it for
Do you have anything?
Do we have to make that decision?
I'm okay with selling it as long as we're not setting precedent and what, you know, it seems like it's pretty low price that we're
This is
selling.
not the first time.
No, we haven't set the price yet. We haven't talked about the price
And
yet.
one question at a time.
We didn't get the price
You
yet.
have to decide whether we want to sell it.
Yeah, we didn't get there yet.
Okay, so the next question
Well,
becomes.
But that number 3, you talk about it merging with the existing.
Mhm.
If we do this, I would want to say that they do that within a certain period of time. So it just doesn't sit out there forever.
no, actually, the way the way the process works, when we sell them the property, we have a clause in our deed that automatically merges.
Okay,
So
all right.
we take care of that.
Because I know in other towns where that happens and it never merges.
No, we do it. I put it right in the deed, so
Okay.
that there's no choice in that.
Okay, good. I'm
Let me
happy
just
then.
understand one thing. So even though this property owner wrote the letter, we're going to make it available to the 3 property owners.
Right.
Because we have to.
Because we have to.
And, okay, just to make it fair.
Yes.
Right, okay.
Okay, now we can go to price.
Now we go to price. So in the initial letter from the attorney making an offer to purchase, they indicated a price that they were willing to pay. I don't know where that number came from. We're certainly not obligated to that.
Certainly a low number.
So that we can, as part of this process, put a minimum price that we're seeking.
We can, yes.
So need some direction on that, whether you want to do that, what you think that should be, and whether you, what information you might want in terms of.
Can you tell us what the number is?
Well, I don't know what the number is. See, there, you know.
Well, when I looked at the tax records, it looks like.
Yeah, don't look at the tax records.
Okay.
And the reason you don't want to look at tax records is because it's not a normal practice. When we go through revaluation, we normally skip exempt properties.
Okay.
So the number that's on there is not a currently
Just an old
valid
number.
number.
It's just a placeholder.
I mean, there's a couple potential ways you could do it. When we do reassessments or revaluations, there's a land value formula that assigns value based on, it usually has to do with a single-family buildable lot or a per square foot.
Mm-hmm.
You could also look at it in terms of what the added value would be to an adjoining lot.
Right.
You know, an existing lot that goes from 100 by 100 to 125 by 100. You know, what's the added value to the property based on that calculation? So there's a couple things we could look at, but you tell me what information you're looking for to kind of make that determination.
Well, I want to be fair. You know, I don't want to make a windfall on a little airstrip. But
What does Melissa have to say?
Yeah, what
She's
does
the
Melissa
expert here.
Well, I truthfully can't picture it. I'd like to see where it is. And I just want to make sure, I know we can't develop it, like the town would never have any use for it whatsoever, right? So we don't care about selling it off. Okay.
Well, let me ask you a question. If the person that submitted the letter gets outbid, he's got structures on a piece of property, what happens
What
then?
happens then?
One of the,
They don't have a problem.
yeah, excellent question. What happens is we sell this property as is what is. That's the condition we put on it. The person who purchases it will have to deal with that. So that obviously makes it less appealing to the other people to purchase it, because they would have to deal with
But
it.
more appealing to the person that has the illegal
Perhaps.
structures.
Right.
Correct.
Well, and part of the thing that they have to consider is, had the offer to purchase not come up, and we were going through an enforcement effort, which could include, you know, time in municipal court if it got that far, you know, a compulsory movement of whatever encroachments they have, which all incur cost, which includes a shed and a fence and possibly a pool. So.
Yeah, we need to have the situation resolved, because we can't have ownership of property that has somebody putting encroachments on it. So
No, we can't ignore it.
If we do offer it for sale, and if we don't force the move of it, the other alternative is to offer an easement. But I think the reason Dave wasn't starting with that recommendation, and had this been a piece of, had this been, you know, a piece of at the edge of Greenview Park or something, and that was the story, we might be looking at that as an alternative. But it doesn't make sense here, because we can't really come up with another reason why we'd want to own the property anymore.
Well, I think you have to do some type of assessment to see
Right.
what the value is going to be to
Whoever.
Yeah, some kind of appraisal.
Yeah, there's got to be some
Well,
kind
you
of
can do a
value
one.
Wait, there must be a way to
I think it's
appraise it.
done.
without spending money.
Yeah, you don't want to go through a
Yeah.
formal appraisal of the
No,
property.
it'll cost you more
You
money
don't want
to
to
do
spend
the
money,
Right.
$1,000 to get $3,000 back.
Well, it's certainly
So-
worth a lot more than that.
What does the assessment say?
He said don't go by, it's just
Yeah,
an old
don't-
number.
don't use
Oh,
the-
it's so old, you can't.
Yeah, so old doesn't matter.
We know some real estate agents that might be able to help us
Yeah, I mean,
and make
we could
recommendations.
do it, I just need to do it like later, like tomorrow.
Okay, so for next meeting,
We'll come up with the value.
I'll work with the assessor and the tax office to come up with at least one, maybe a couple different scenarios to determine value, and I mean, you can look at whatever you want.
And who knows, this
We'll come
might be
up with
realistic, but we don't know
some suggested prices in terms of what we're.
and how we came up with it. yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Right.
Very good, thank you.
Now, when they have that bidding process, say we get that far, is it like a closed thing? Like, is it a sealed bid, or do they do that publicly?
I'm sorry?
If we get that far.
Sealed bid or?
We
Sealed
do.
bid?
We typically do this by sealed bid instead of auction. It's just kind of, you know, we're not really equipped to do
Right, no, it's just,
auction year, so we.
here I got my guy.
If I
I can-
drove if I drove by this, would I be able to tell where it is?
I think so. Google, do a Google
Well,
map.
we just
Well,
did.
Probably not, because the person that has the illegal structures is probably maintaining
And that's
a
number
piece of
25.
property
Just
like
put
it's
it in
their
the
own.
log under Google Maps, and it comes up, it shows you the
Is it
street.
in the north side of 25, right? Is that what you said? Number 25?
It's
on the south
south
side.
of
South,
25,
south.
immediately, if you're driving down East Franklin, it is directly ahead.
Okay.
Okay. You have enough direction?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, reports and notices. Next on the agenda is reports and notices. Okay, are there any comments from council on any of the notices? Everybody good on all of those? Do you have a chance to look at them? Okay, I'll take your silence as a yes.
I think we
Okay,
were
the next
good.
item on the agenda is the manager's report.
Okay, I think I'm reporting on a couple repetitive things from reports and notices. However, the township did receive a $100,000 discretionary aid grant from NJDOT for Sunset Road sidewalks. The discretionary aid program is their most competitive grant program, and this will supplement our 2014 municipal aid DOT grant for Sunset Road. This will allow us to complete the vast majority of that program with grant funds. The township was also awarded, as was previously mentioned, $175,000 from the Morris County Historic Preservation Fund for the Martin Berry House acquisition. This represents the full amount of the grant requested, which was also a very competitive grant program. We sold bond anticipation notes today and received an interest rate of 0.5%, half a percent. This is half the rate of the note that we are rolling over from last year. It will save us about $32,000 in interest costs in the 2016 budget. A copy of the termination of award will be distributed. I did not copy it. The flat field at Washington Park has been graded and seeded. Heavy-duty above-ground sprinklers were purchased in hopes of having a grass practice field available for 2016.
That's great. Yeah, that's nice. Okay, next, council reports. Councilman Cole?
I have nothing to report.
Okay. Councilwoman Florence?
Just real quick, the flood committee was working with the town, just trying to get people signed up for those. I think everybody was given an update. Was everybody given an update on that? They went around knocking on doors, collecting the information for our first round of grant applications. I think we're in a good position, and the committee's just finalizing, helping the township pull together the last couple of items, but I think we're in good shape on that. I don't know if Dave wants to add anything to that. I know he sent out an update of where he is with the properties.
Yeah, our target was 25 to 30 properties. At this point, we have 26 who have signed the voluntary participation agreements. More than half of them are SRLs. The flood committee is working on obtaining, there's a handful of items that each property owner has to submit, including photographs of each side of the house, copies of their flood insurance declaration page, and there were a couple of those items that were missing that the flood committee is attempting to get for us. So our hope is to include all 26 of those properties in the grant, which has to be to the state by the end of this month. So we're now down to about 2 weeks to get the rest of that together.
Yeah, so they're in good shape there. And other than that, I know members of the Economic Development Committee met last night to do a, what they're working on now is they're working with Megan from that Morris EDC, and they're putting together a SWOT analysis to take a look at our town, kind of determine, you know, where we want to move forward with business development and whatnot. So they're moving down a path with that, and we'll get a report probably in September.
Oh, that's good. Also, if you could ask your environmental commission to give us a report on the pipeline when you finally have something. Okay. All right. Councilman Phelan?
I have nothing.
Okay. Councilman Vanderhoff?
Yeah, about a week ago, I was at Quick Check, and I looked over at the railroad station, and the roof looked kind of odd. And I took a closer inspection, One of the shingles is at probably about a 90-degree angle from where it should be.
Really?
On close inspection, there's shingles that are missing. The piece of stone, so they had to fall straight down the ground. Where they went to, and no one noticed it. It's amazing. I went to the north side, where it has the 3 or 4 foot eaves, and you look up, you can see daylight.
Really?
All right, so that roof is
part of
leaking.
was that part of the restoration? I'm sure they did.
Well, it was done,
I don't know when they
but
did all that.
someone should be watching.
Oh, yeah.
You know, there's
But I'm
people
just
there.
wondering how, you know, is it vandalism or is it just poor workmanship?
No, it's maintenance.
Well, I'm saying, yeah, is it that, I mean, that roof, how old is that roof?
It was redone, not replaced, but re-nailed during the restoration.
Not too long ago, right?
Which was,
Yeah, 10, 15 years
Yeah,
ago.
it shouldn't.
Backside,
Probably only
railroad.
a 5-year warranty though, or something, right? I don't know what kind of a warranty comes with roofs.
Yeah, the backside is the same condition, there's shingles missing.
Mm-hmm.
The drain pipes, which were an issue from day one, being smashed. The backside, they're completely smashed. It has what they call Yankee gutters on it, and that water is not coming down. That's probably going back in the building.
Well, that's not good.
So that roof inside is leaking at some point.
Yeah. I don't know, we have our meetings in there and I never noticed anything, but I mean,
Wasn't raining.
it's been raining every day for the whole month. I think it's been
It
raining.
needs, you know, there needs to be touch up to the paint, if not repainted.
Sounds like a lot of work has to be done.
Right, and my point is, if we're not taking care of this little building, go back to the big building that we're looking at, how are we gonna take
Well, I
care of
think
that?
that's where we gotta talk about our historical society and where they fit into things. And
Well, they're in this building all the time, and
Well, I
someone's
don't know
not
what
watching.
council, when you approved that train station and all that, was there any kind of agreement drawn up about what was to take place? What was the agreement at the time?
yeah, about the process for maintenance.
I think that's something that we're gonna have to do. Say we obtain the Martinberry House, we have to have some kind of agreement as to what
Who's
is,
responsible for
exactly. That's what I'm saying, what was agreed upon with the train station?
Well, I think we need to back.
I don't think there was at one
Well, right
station,
now,
nothing
you
was
need
agreed
to
upon.
get someone to look at this and see how much money you're gonna put into it before there's some damage to the inside.
Yeah, yeah,
Right,
well, I
so
think
we need
that's
to
something,
take a step back and find out what's going on.
and we need an agreement. We need
With
to have,
whom?
to figure out, with who, whatever, maybe, well, that's something, I know that it's been talked about, you have a formal agreement. The Historical Society in Riverdale has a formal agreement with the town as to who's responsible for what and who does what and different things like that.
So our historical society,
That may be something we want to engage with.
they are going to assume responsibility for that.
I can't speak for them.
No, I
There's-
know.
But I'm saying that is a path that we
That's a-
should talk about.
That's a lot of work.
That should become an agenda item at some point. We don't even have the house yet though, so you've got
Right,
the
no, I
cart before
know,
the
but we,
horse.
right, well, we need to take a step
Right,
back and
right.
figure out what we're doing.
But
And that's like your example where you can go wrong by not having an agreement.
Correct.
You did a project without having an agreement in place,
Right.
which really,
You put the cart before the horse.
right, that shouldn't have happened.
We restored a building and a group took it over.
What group?
What group? No group, that's the problem.
What group?
Or historical,
Our historic?
or,
It's our own commission, which
It
is
is
the
our
township.
own commission.
It's our own commission, so it is us.
Right.
They are us. There was no other agreement. Maybe they thought there was going to be, and it didn't happen.
There's a, it's,
well, my point is, even without agreement, when shingles are laying on the ground, someone should say something. They didn't blow away, the pieces of stone.
Well, it could have been too obvious, because I was there like 2 weeks ago for a meeting, and I didn't even notice it, so it can't be too obvious, especially from when you're in the building, and I don't know. But the thing is the problem is, something was done without an agreement in place and anything in writing, so that we should take a step back before we go forward.
agreement, you depend on citizens.
No, I expect the council to, when they gave the money to restore the building, that they should have done something. Yeah, come to the microphone.
Anyway, something needs to be done.
No, that's fine. She's from the Historic Commission, so I'm sure she's gonna say something. Your name and address for the record, thanks.
Jane Costello, 3 Van Allen Place, Pompton
Grab
Plains.
the mic down, thanks.
Jane Costello, 3 Van Allen Place, Pompton Plains. I'm a member of the Historic Commission, and I've been on it through the renovation and all that. We have, at our own commission, has made all the repairs so far that have needed to be done.
Well, it sounds like something,
Repainting.
Jane, is in disrepair that I haven't noticed. Have you
No,
noticed?
I haven't either.
Right.
So this must be something relatively new, because we have fixed the drain pipes. We didn't replaced them with copper because we figured that was why they were going, because people wanted the copper. There's been repainting. There's been all kinds of different things that the commission has done on its own. And if there are shingles missing, I'm sure that they will be taken care of.
Was there any kind of agreement, Jane, with the township council?
I haven't seen.
When you started to restore that, was there anything?
I don't recall anything like that. But, I mean, obviously the town has been very helpful as far as snow removal and things like that. But as far as our own keeping up with what's going on, we've never had any water damage inside. The only thing we had this year was the pipes froze, which I think quite a few people in town had that happen. And it was a combination thing. The commission and the town water department fixed it.
Well, we'll be meeting
But I mean, we'll be meeting shortly, and I'm sure that will be addressed, because that's one thing, that place is kept up, and it's kept up very well.
The copper
And
pipe should be taken off, replaced with plastic.
Excuse me?
The copper drain pipe should be taken off, replaced with plastic, and just paint them brown.
Well, see, we were bound by the renovation people to put up copper.
They got bent the first week.
So, obviously, but I'm saying it wasn't a choice, and we took care of it. And I know new gutters were put up and so forth, and members of the commission did that. So I think, I'm glad you brought it to our attention that we're missing shingles, but I'm absolutely positive that the commission will take care of it, because that building has been kept up very, very well. We have a problem with kids hanging out there. There's no doubt about that. We've tried to do some different things. We tried to invite them in to see the so forth.
Which has been positive.
It has been positive. We have had some kids who said, oh, gee, we've never been in there. But just so you know, we're on top of it, and I'm glad you told us about it, and we'll take care of it.
Yes. Thank you, Jane. Okay. Anything else?
That's it.
Okay. The only thing I have is we have the truck event this weekend. We're also going to have the birthday celebration on Saturday. That's going to be part of it's an open PV park to everyone. So if anybody hasn't experienced PV park in a long time, it's a good time to come. Wear your bathing suit. Hopefully it's hot. You don't have to be a member. And Dave, also, if we could have a castle report. We haven't had a report from engineering in a long time.
Okay.
I just see it getting bigger and bigger and don't know what's going on. You don't have to give it now. But.
No, I'll get a more formal report from Bob. I mean, we do discuss it internally, fairly regularly. The progress is slow. They're not going to finish within their estimated 18-month time frame. It may be a total of 24 months by the time they're actually done. What has been occurring is that they've been coming in and essentially taking individual permits out by construction type. So they come in and they took a permit for the pilings, one for the foundation, one for the steel work. So they're moving in pieces rather than having a lot of different things going on. They do not appear to be in a rush.
Has there been anything unexpected?
Not that I'm aware of, other than progress is slower than we were led to believe would occur.
Okay.
So I wouldn't expect to see a completed product there until late next year.
Okay. Okay. All right. Next on the agenda is public comment. If anyone wishes to address the council, please wait to be recognized to come to the microphone and provide your name and address for the record. Mike, I didn't even see you come in.
We saw him come in.
Did you?
We saw him come in.
Hi, Mike Puccino, 10 Beach Street. I just wanted to thank the library and the volunteers for the trucks that were there, the ambulances and fire department, police, even a street cleaner was there. But the kids enjoyed it. It was a very nice time.
I'll let them know I have a meeting tomorrow night.
Yeah, good. And then I had a question about the ordinance that was pushed till next meeting. I was the one about the the zoning of
The industrial zone?
Yeah. I was reading about something in Wayne, how like a Dave and Buster's was looking to move into like a industrial space, and I was just wondering if any way they could find a way into the, changing our ordinances. Could that be considered sporting?
No.
Being like indoor?
No, that would clearly be a restaurant use. They, of course, could always apply for a variance, but that would not be incorporated within the use.
Okay. Yeah, I just read that they were looking in the area.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure it doesn't get involved with us. All right, thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Do we have an executive? No? Okay, so no executive session tonight. Approval of minutes. Did everybody have a chance?
I had a chance.
I did too, they were fine. I did.
Right, so I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for
Get the dates in
What were the dates?
There were 3 days.
Carol, give us the dates.
June 9th, June 23rd, June 30th.
Right, I made a motion for those 3 dates.
Thank you.
Any second?
I'll second.
Roll call?
Mrs. Florence Lynch,
Yes.
Mr. Cole,
Yes, but I'll abstain for the 23rd, being that I was not here.
Mr. Phelan,
Yes.
Mr. Vanderhoff,
Yes.
Mayor Winterfield.
Yes. Okay, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second. All in favor? Aye. There you go, guys.